Welcome to part 2 of my series on UK aerodromes and radiotelephony. Today I'm at Wolverhampton Halfpenny Green. This busy airfield is a FISO aerodrome, which means that Flight Information Service officers work in the tower.
Airspeed's alive.
Later I'll be taking off in this TB10 to demonstrate the types of radio call you can expect here. But first, let's meet Tony Roland, the FISO manager who's been keeping pilots safe in the air since 1980.
It's a great challenge, and when you do it right, it's quite satisfying.
What's a good day for you?
Today, when it's really busy.
Got 50 November, runway 34, land your discretion, wind light and variable, instant 230 degrees, 5 knots.
Tony says that 98% of what he and his colleagues do is actually a waste of time.
Golf Alpha Alpha, report final, 1 reported ahead.
I'm a firm believer that most pilots are intelligent enough to fly here, fly a circuit, join in with everybody else, land, and everything's fine. The real job of a FISO is probably less than 2% of the time, and that's the occasions when someone's called downwind and you may say to them, are you visual with traffic on your right? And they'll say, no, oh yeah, got it. You've done your job then. The rest of it is just words that I think have limited value.
Tony says it's those rare yet critical interventions that make his service worthwhile.
The circuit traffic to affect you is left base now.
You don't know what effect you've had on those 2% times. It may be to have avoided a collision. So you get your rewards in a strange way. It's not by talking to lots and lots of aeroplanes and telling them to report downwind. That's of little value. It's the occasions when you've achieved something.
Golf Whiskey Alpha Romeo Bravo, Halfpenny Green information, Roger, QNH 1036.
The definition of an Aerodrome Flight Information Service officer is someone who gives advice and information useful for the safe and efficient conduct of flights in the ATZ and its vicinity. And a FISO may give traffic information, details of the runway in use and the weather. But it's important to understand the limitations of the service.
The area of responsibility that a FISO has at an aerodrome is the aerodrome traffic zone and the surrounding area. However, if we have information that's specific to a particular area, then we are obliged to give it to a pilot. So we may get a call from somebody in transit who's going to pass 5, 6, maybe 10 miles west of us. There could be 100 aeroplanes flying in that area that we know nothing about. It's a generic service that the pilot is fully responsible for his own compliance with the requirements, terrain clearance, VFR navigation, etc., etc.
It's time now to see what types of radio call you need to make at a UK aerodrome with a FISO service. John Parker and his friend Sean have flown up from Towerston to help me out today. So I'm strapping into John's TB10. We're going to start up, request taxi down to the runway, take off, and then depart the circuit to the north. Over to you, John.
Halfpenny Green information, Golf Bravo Hotel Delta X-ray, parked on the grass to the west.
I mess up my first attempt at the initial call because I get John's call sign wrong.
I'm trying to do an instructional video about how to use the radio and I get the wrong call sign. It's not a good start, is it?
You're not going to edit that out, are you?
And then I only go and do it again.
Halfpenny Green information, Golf Bravo Hotel Delta X-ray TB10 on the grass to the west of the tower, requests aerodrome information and taxi, VFR flight to Tatton Hill.
Got it wrong again, John.
Bravo Hotel Delta Echo, Halfpenny good information. Hold position please. It'll be a left turn for runway 34, holding point Alpha 5, and the QNH 1036.
Hold position, it will be a left turn runway 34 to Alpha 5, 1036, Golf Delta Echo.
Delta Echo correct, there's a C Fury on your right taxiing in. If you're ready to taxi now, taxi Alpha 5.
Taxi Alpha 5, Golf Delta Echo.
Double call sign mishap aside, that was a reasonable example of an initial call at an aerodrome like this. The important point to note is that in the UK, at an aerodrome with an AFISO on duty, you must not taxi without permission. Once power checks have been completed, we call ready for departure. We never say ready for takeoff.
Golf Delta Echo, holding point Alpha 5, ready for departure.
Golf Delta Echo, runway 34, take off your discretion, surface wind light and variable.
Taking off runway 34, Golf Delta Echo.
The phrase "take off your discretion" shouldn't be read back. It means that the FISO has not indicated to another pilot on final that he or she may land, and so we can line up and take off if we're happy that it's safe to do so.
Airspeed's alive.
Golf Alpha Alpha, report final.
As usual, position reports are helpful to other pilots.
Golf Delta Echo, turning downwind runway 34 high, left hand, and we'll be departing from the overhead.
Golf Delta Echo, roger.
The UK AFISO's ability to control traffic is limited to the ground only. Now we're in the air, we follow the rules of the air, make our own decisions, and we're totally responsible for separation.
I know there's traffic to fly through the overhead. The circuit traffic to affect you is left base now.
Left.
I got him.
The final call when we're on a departure is to change frequency.
Golf Delta Echo, 4 miles to the north, 2,200 feet, changing en route.
Golf Delta Echo, change en route. Bye-bye.
In a moment, we'll rejoin the circuit and land. But what does FISO manager Tony Roland think of inexperienced or student pilots?
I'm thinking back to my flight training,
Yes.
and you're learning so much in a
Yes.
short space of time. You're making mistakes left, right, and
course.
centre. You know, what advice would you give to pilots who are perhaps a bit fresh, maybe newly qualified, maybe still training, worried about talking to you, worried about being absolutely correct and precise with the radio telephony? Are you really bothered if they say landing my discretion, or they use terminology that isn't in the CAP 413 book necessarily?
Not at all. I can't speak for all air traffic units, I can only speak for this one. Probably 75 to 80% of the traffic we have here is training. So there's a lot of people learning and a lot of people making mistakes. And our job is to protect the runway, essentially. Providing nothing is done to land on a runway that's occupied or take off on a runway that's occupied, then we can pretty much live with anything. We try and get the phraseology right, but we can put up with just about anything that's said to us.
Victor November, taxi holding point Alpha 5, QNH 1036.
When you work at this for 9 hours a day, we say all sorts of things that you didn't intend to say. Because you've got to keep talking even when your brain's lagging behind, but you've still got to keep talking. And we do appreciate that a student pilot his head's full already, so it isn't an issue for us.
It's time to rejoin the Halfpenny Green circuit, and I still can't get the aircraft's call sign right.
Halfpenny Green information, Golf Bravo Hotel Delta X-ray, Echo, inbound from the northwest, request aerodrome information for joining.
Golf Bravo Hotel Delta Echo, Halfpenny Green information, runway news 34, left-hand circuit, QFE 1026.
Runway 34, left-hand circuit, QFE 1026, and we'll join overhead, Golf Delta Echo.
Golf Delta Echo, roger. Cessna 152 also joining in the overhead from the southwest, altitude not known.
Golf Delta Echo.
While this is a real-world example, if you're taking your radio telephony test, they'll expect you to use the correct phraseology. The UK's radio telephony manual, CAP 413, is an absolute must-read. Don't do as I do what the book says.
Golf Delta Echo overhead, descending dead side.
Golf Delta Echo, roger. No reported fixturing traffic.
Circuit traffic, report downwind left.
Port downwind left hand, Golf Delta Echo.
As with most other arrivals at an aerodrome, conventional position reports are expected.
Golf Delta Echo, turning downwind, runway 34, left hand to land.
Golf Delta Echo, report final.
Report final, Golf Delta Echo. Golf Delta Echo, 3 mile final, runway 34 to land.
Golf Delta Echo, runway 34, land your discretion, surface wind light and variable, instant 240 degrees 2 knots.
Landing, Golf Delta Echo. Golf Delta Echo, request taxi parking.
Golf Delta Echo, continue ahead and vacate first left onto runway 22.
Continue ahead and first left 22, Golf Delta Echo.
That's it for part 2. My thanks to Halfpenny Green Aerodrome and John Parker. In the next episode, we'll explore an aerodrome with full ATC to see how procedures and radiotelephony differ there. Part 3 comes out on the 15th of November 2019. Go to my website to find out how to watch all the episodes in this series now.